Oh, there we go. Now we're live. So do you have a shot ready?
Oh yeah.
Good.
Do
Just
I,
making
do
sure.
I have a shot?
I don't know. I was just making sure. Just making sure. What do you have today?
I just have vodka.
Okay. I was trying to show you earlier. I
But
bought this for game night. It
uh-huh.
is Pie Hole.
Oh,
Come on,
she's a
pie flavored whiskey.
pie flavored whiskey.
Yep.
She's adorable. I would buy that.
She is adorable. So, one thing about this, most of the guys thought it was too sweet, which I quite foul on because those of you out there who know, we take horrible shots.
Oh yeah.
In reference to like whipped cream or cinnamon buns or donuts or cake or any of those, this isn't that sweet.
Okay, got it.
It's sweet for sure, but like, dude, those Smirnoff ones taste like syrup.
I
It's like,
hate the Smirnoff ones.
you know
Those are
what I
the
mean? Like,
worst.
so I say fuck you to those guys. Like, there's no like, it's for sure it's sweet, but it's not like
It's not
disgusting.
pinnacle. It's not pinnacle
Yeah,
sweet.
it's
That's
not
definitely.
pinnacle. Exactly. Two, Lewis loved it.
I'm so happy for the new regular.
Right? All right, man. Let's do this.
Okay.
Lewis's last night in the States. It's kind of smooth. You could, I would. They might have actually used real pecans in that.
Oh, nice.
Like that. That doesn't taste bad.
Do you still prefer the peanut butter whiskey?
I do. There's the you can tell that that's a maybe a refined product.
A labor of love and
Yeah,
not combining sugar and
no, like they've clearly tested that over and over again to get to where they were at with that.
yeah, that's fair.
Like, dare I say, a balanced flavor.
I can't wait for our new podcast where we just try the weirdest, most terrible alcohols.
I am so down because apparently we're launching podcast after podcast.
That's right.
Especially with Chaz. Even Chazzy wants to launch his own horror podcast soon, which I'm so down for. Or we can just drop the dice is just going to go into become a film podcast anyways.
I like it.
Unless we can get these guys to free up a little bit of time. I do want to talk about board games for 1 second though, even though today we are going to talk about more movies. Sorry guys. Dude, you got to tell me about Robin Hood. You sent me like a very vague text and you didn't elaborate.
I did not. I played it solo, and I did not enjoy myself.
Okay.
So there's like 6 to 8 different actions that you can do, and each action has a page devoted to it in the rule book. And so every time I was going to go do anything, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to go over here, and depending on how and where I played my card, that changes the steps within that action. Then I had to flip to the rule book and then go, okay, what are steps 1 through 6 to do this one action that I want to do? And I was playing solo, so I had 5 Merryman actions. I do that 5 different times, and then I get to the hero phase, and then I have different actions that I can do with my hero. It was so much bookkeeping and fiddliness, and yeah. And there's not like a distilled set of rules or like, hey, don't forget these things or follow these. And I just like the player aids are mostly useless in that game. And it's not a game that I think that the rule book won't be by your side for at least 2 full plays. And it's just a lot. It's such a good theme. And I love the amount of thought that went into that theme. Like you're playing Robin Hood and you can rob carriages and you can go to an archery competition and you can give money back to the poor. And all of that sounds really cool and exactly what you would want from a Robin Hood game. But then when it comes to doing those actions, it just has a ton of upkeep.
I haven't given up yet. I think that it's a gorgeous production.
Yeah.
What's his? He goes by like the Migo or the Miko.
I don't know.
It's the same guy who did the artwork for.
The architects and
raiders.
Raiders.
Anyway, the art's gorgeous, super cool.
Yeah, some of my favorite in a board game, to be honest.
Yeah, and again, I love that theme. Like second only to King Arthur, who was one of my favorite kind of stories growing up. But I think that playing solo, you kind of get the worst of that game. I
Yeah.
think after playing it we played it at 3, and at 3, it's a weird semi co-op. There are rules for co-op, for full co-op, but we played the normal rules, which is semi co-op, and at the end of it, and even talking about it later, we kind of came to the conclusion that if we were to play it again, you really need to take advantage of that semi prefix to the word co-op, and that like there's one winner at the end of that game, and as much as you need to kind of work together, you need to figure out how to like underhand the other person. So we were doing things where we would almost help the other people when we could, and I think we needed to not. I think we needed to let people rot in jail, because we were taking action because it would give us points if we went and saved them. So we were thinking we could get points that way. But I think we probably needed to look at, well, where can we get points? And then that guy also has to stay in jail because that's helping him. So like by the end, it was really easy to win for us.
Oh, that's interesting.
Since we were all, unless we played, we argued we could have played something wrong because there's, like you said, a million fucking rules in that thing.
Yeah.
Like we only got one carriage that made it to the city gates.
Oh, that's I did not encounter that. All of the carriages got there.
Multiple people got arrested, but nobody got past level 2.
Oh, okay.
And
all of that could be luck of the roll as well.
It could. And then there was one thing where like, what is it when like when the gold is gone from one of the stacks, something bad happens?
Yeah, the game ends.
Oh, okay. We never had any trouble running out of gold.
Okay. That's cool.
Like I think King John is the one that takes some of the gold. Like he would come out and we would just throw one gold over there when there's an action that you can take that like part of it is putting a gold back.
Yeah.
It never seemed hard to us, and we think it's because we worked too much together. We needed to that a little bit more that give and pull. Again, I don't know. Super fiddly game though, no matter what. And
I had a huge stack of gold. I mean, I must have had almost 20 gold towards the end of the game, and that's even after I was using it to put on the roads and stuff. So I don't think it's actually hard or impossible, the co-op aspect to it. It just
okay. So then you encountered almost the same thing. Where like, okay, that gold's not going to run out.
Yeah.
Like it's to the point where Z-Man would take actions that were irresponsible because he was like, dude, like it's fine if he gets a gold, we'll be okay.
Sure.
So he would take an action to further his own, like finally figured out, oh, I could take that. I want it to be good, but I don't know, man.
Not my favorite. I want to love it. Anyways, that's enough about Robin Hood.
I love that you don't even want to talk about it.
I don't. I mean, it's just I'd rather invest in other things. And I hate to say it because I wanted to like it so much.
That's crazy, dude. I know. I mean, you put your money into it, so that always sucks.
Well, I didn't have an interesting shot, but I have interesting beers. I have a double IPA with passion fruit.
Nice.
That I'm all about. And I have a pale sour ale.
Is the pale sour Omegang?
Yeah, it is.
Nice. I like them. They do all the Game of Thrones beers.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So did you go see Us this weekend?
No, I'm seeing it tomorrow.
Okay, good. Neither have I. So we won't talk about that today.
Right.
I'm so worried. I was so worried that I'm going to see something online or on Twitter or like on YouTube and just be bummed. I saw Get Out, I think, pretty early on.
Mm-hmm.
And so before people started like either posting memes or like talking about it, like I'd already seen it. So I knew what people were talking about. I'm worried that with Us, that's not going to happen. And
do you think Do you think Us is going to have a reveal to the level that Get Out did?
I don't know, but there's clearly something going on. There's a thing. There's a mystery there, right?
Right.
And so whether it's a twist or not, or whether you find it out in 10 minutes into the film, like, I'd rather go in. I don't know, and I do enjoy that. Like, so far, like, his movies are some of the few that I really want to go in blind because he's doing something so new.
It's so cool, man. Sophomore slump does not exist.
Like Marvel movies, I'm fine reading as many spoilers as whatever. Like, I could care less.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I know, like, I mean, depending on what story they're adapting, I know how the story is supposed to end, at least.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, like, I know how Infinity War ends, at least in the comics, and all the players that are still alive are in that comic, so I'm thinking they're somewhat sticking to it.
The only thing I've seen on Twitter about Us so far is that Lupita Nyong and Tim Heidecker are absolutely phenomenal.
I've heard multiple people say Lupita is, like, Oscar worthy for this one.
Did you know that she's half Mexican?
No.
Yeah, she's half Kenyan, half Mexican.
Are you sure?
And she went to Yale, I think. Yeah.
I can believe that. Like, she doesn't.
Yeah, the Yale part's not surprising.
Yeah, the Yale part's unsurprising. Like, when you hear her talk, like, she sounds super smart.
Oh yeah.
I am stoked that Winston Duke, like, from everything I've heard, he's like the comic relief, which is arguably a pretty different role than Black Panther.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I'm glad to see this guy, like, do something different.
Yeah.
So early on, like, clearly he like shot to the forefront of people's minds, and he's, like, taking advantage of it. Like, if this guy blows up, that'd be super cool.
I think he's about to, man.
Yeah, I just want Daniel Kaluuya to keep working.
Me too. What's he in next?
I don't know, but if you look at his IMDb, he's, like, in everything, just, like, in the background.
I think I watched Widows.
Yeah, he was in that.
He was in that. He was really good in that, actually.
He's a good actor.
Yeah.
Was he American in that?
Yes.
Okay. Nice. Wait, has he used his real voice yet?
I don't even. I assume so. He was in Skins.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming he has. He probably maybe just not in anything we've seen.
Yeah, I've seen Skins.
Oh, okay. Who else is in Skins? Beast, right?
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So what's up, everybody? This is Ben from www.jumpthedice.com. And with me today is my trusty cohort, my East Coast correspondent, and my head of audio engineering, and the only guy I'd ever want with me on a desert island.
You're just
Speaking of which,
yeah.
What the fuck,
dude? We got. Is there any way you can still use the same name?
Oh, they haven't told me no yet. I just thought we would change it just to be individuals.
I know, but I'm wondering if you can, like, slightly change it so that it stands apart in a good way, but
like, we have to retreat.
Like, we have to go back. Jack.
Yeah, we have to go back, Common Jack.
Exactly.
I don't know, man. So, like I said, iTunes obviously is fine with me having multiple people have the same name. So, me and Rico recently started a Lost podcast, which we have been going through each episode and kind of dissecting it one by one. The first episode just went up. I submitted the podcast to iTunes yesterday. I'm waiting on a response, but today I was just looking to see if iTunes had accepted ours yet. So I thought I would Google, or I thought I would type into the podcast search, "We have to go back," and sure enough, it's plenty of podcast name. We have to go back.
Naturally, we didn't do this research ahead of time.
Yeah, of course not. And I didn't think that there would be that many lost podcasts. Two of them are there. One of them at least had an episode in 2018, and I think one of them just started in February, which makes me think we should almost talk to them and just have, like, a joint and, like, talk to them every once in a while.
Oh, that would be amazing.
I should listen to them and see if they're even worth listening to.
We can call it "We Have to Go Back Together," and it'll be
like
their
that.
podcast and our podcast together.
So the other thing I was thinking of, what if we call it like instead of the Swan Station, the Dice Station?
Nice.
Something like that. And then maybe our logo is what is it? An octagon. And then in the middle, so with the lines, and then in the middle is just dice.
So it kind of looks like the Dharma Initiative, but
right. Well, because all the stations have the same logo, right? And then there's the Swan, the Hydra, the Lookout Tower, and whatever. We'll get to that on the other podcast. But in the middle, it'll have just 2 dice.
I like it.
We can do marks like DTD on one, and then we'll do 6 on the other or something. I think it's actually kind of a cool logo. Do you think the Dice Station makes sense for that?
No, but
is it big enough that like, it's actually kind of cool and like true Lost believers will enjoy it?
That remains to be seen if they'll like the podcast at all.
Have you listened to the episode? I thought it was pretty good.
I have not.
I rather enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun romp.
Did you edit it and listen to it and then listen to it again when you posted it? I
edited it and then I listened to like 20 minutes of it on the way to work.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, it seems fine. Usually I haven't been listening to the podcast that I edit again after I edit it and post it.
Yeah.
Just at that, like, especially some of the Chop of the Dice ones are like 4 hours. Not like 4 hours of like
very good engaging content. Please subscribe.
Yeah. No. The 4 hours of recorded material, and then I have to edit it down to like 2.
Mm-hmm.
And like it's just a lot. And I don't want to hear that joke again. All right. So, anyways, today we're going to talk about. I was traversing the interwebs, and I came across this super sweet tweet, and it basically said, "What 5 films would you show someone if you needed to describe to them your taste in films or your view on films?" And it immediately struck me as something kind of interesting because it's not asking what your 5 favorite films are or what the best 5 films are or anything like that. It's trying to show someone your specific taste in film. And I think that is a question that I haven't really explored too much. I've made tons of top 10 lists for favorite and best and back and forth. And as it is, those are really hard to make. This one's the first thing that came to mind was, how do you encompass like the breadth of everything that I love about film in 5 films? You know, it's easy to like, when I look at like my top 5 films of all time, they're kind of similar a little bit, like they share a lot in common. Yeah. And immediately I was like, well, I can't just say those because I'm going to miss out on a decent amount of stuff that I actually really enjoy. And so I actually don't think there's only one here that belongs in my top 5 that made it over to this list.
Oh, that's really interesting.
So that's kind of how I approached it. So each one that I kind of picked, and I tried not to get too much crossover, although there's a little bit. And like I would pick something because I thought, okay, this is an example of this, and this, and you know, I like these types of films. You know, like I didn't pick Star Wars, but let's say I picked Star Wars. You know, like that would be an example of, oh, I love adventure films and I love sci-fi films and I love big blockbuster films, and that's kind of why I picked Star Wars.
That's why I picked Romancing the Stone.
Did you pick Romancing the Stone?
No.
Okay. That'd be impressive that you picked that and not Indiana Jones.
Right.
But I'd be down if you can. I mean, I like Michael Douglas. That's how I approached it, and I immediately asked you, and you're like, okay, this is pretty cool. And we were going to talk about Cardboard today, but we're not now. How did you approach the question?
Yeah, the same. I mean, it's a hypothetical, and so in this hypothetical, I'd like to assume that the person has never seen a movie, and I get to start from a blank canvas and like bring them into, hey, this is what a good comedy is, or this is what a good science fiction or a good horror. But so that's how I approached it. If I
That's
can start from
interesting.
scratch, like how do I give somebody a good first foray into what the genre can be?
I think I kind of looked at it that way of like someone who's asking me like, how do I start my film journey? You know, what does
Yeah,
yours look like? And be like, okay, well here's my five. We can branch off from these.
yeah,
Like these are all I think good starting points. That too.
and
Everything I picked, I think, is very watchable.
yeah.
Um, which is almost one thing that I wish I had something difficult to digest on here.
So
I
we
don't.
no apocalypse now.
No Apocalypse Now. No like really slow Tarkovsky film. Um, I couldn't even get like The Fountain on here.
Yeah.
That was going to be my like kind of like impenetrable one.
Okay.
Um, nothing like that. These are all very watchable films, I think. And we kind of talked off the podcast. Like these are, I've seen each of these at least 10 times.
That's amazing.
Um, especially this one, which we'll get to.
Don't laugh at your own list.
All right. So let's take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with our 5 films that are going. Like, if we were going to explain to you our taste in film, these are the 5 films that we would pick. Okay, you know what? I should just
That's a mouthful. Hey, come on, do it again. Do it again.
All right, all right. All right, we're going to take a quick break. I'm not going to edit this, by the way.
No, I know.
Take a quick break. We'll be right back with the top 5 films that describe to you our own personal taste in film. Thank you.
I don't know if that was better.
I think it was a little better.
That's
All
funny.
right. Do you need to go grab a beer or anything?
No, I've got my 2 right in front of me.
Nice. Yeah, I started doing that too. So I have this one and this one. Sweet. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Yeah, kick us off.
All right, so we're back. Again, this isn't like a countdown. This isn't a top 5 or anything. These are just 5 films, kind of in any order. And okay, so real quick, rules for this. Off the podcast, Rico said I was not allowed to reference the other films that could have made it into this slot when I mentioned these films. So I'm just gonna name the film and kind of where it fits. I won't mention the other possibilities that it could have been here because I was I was fully like thinking at work like this is gonna be my way to cheat these other films into here.
Oh yeah, I absolutely figured you have to take a shot every time you break that rule.
Nice. I should do that because I know which one. Okay, I will take one more because there's one of these that I'd really need to do it for. Okay, so first one off my list, and if any was a top one, this might be it because this is like the first one that came to mind, and I knew that like this would stay on the list, and that was Blade Runner.
Very cool.
So Blade Runner, for those of you who don't know, is kind of this future noir about a cop that chases down replicants who are clones, who are robot clones, and he might be a replicant himself, and it's set in this like future Los Angeles, and like I said, it really adapts like the noir mentality to the future, and it was something that wasn't really seen yet. Almost invents the cyberpunk genre. Ridley Scott directed it with Harrison Ford. It has a texture, it has a look to it that has inspired countless films after it, man. Like, oh my god, like so many people try to ape Blade Runner in look and feel. And it's just awesome. It's extremely enjoyable. Rutger Hauer turns in this like any great villain. He's not even evil. He's just trying to live. And he delivers one of the best improv speeches by the end that, of course, ends with like Tears and Rain, which is just a freaking awesome improv line. But man, Blade Runner, it's science fiction. It's a detective story. It has a darkness to it that's, and again, really watchable. It's super enjoyable the whole way because the whole time you're completely intrigued by this awesome mystery. and the characters that you encounter throughout are super cool. Like the guy who does eyes. You have like this puppet master guy who kind of falls in love with this other replicant Pris. You have Harrison Ford and Sean Young doing their thing, and even this would nowhere near would have made my list, but it leads into Blade Runner 2049, and it's just they're both just really cool pieces together. You've seen this, right?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
I think your appreciation for it is a little bit deeper than mine. It probably warrants another rewatch for me. I've only seen it once.
And I will say this is another one. This has like a million different edits to it.
That's the hardest part. I remember trying to watch it for the first time, and I was like, which one do I get? Because at that time, I think I was torrenting a lot of movies. And so if you go search Blade Runner on a torrent site, you have way too many edits.
I will argue that I probably don't remember which one's my favorite cut. I'm assuming it's the final cut.
Yeah.
That is on like the DVD. I remember not hating the voiceover as much as everyone else did when I finally saw the version with the voiceover. I think the one without the voiceover is probably superior, but I don't besmirch it for that. And this is a weird one. Like it's considered a classic now, but man, on release it tanked.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And nobody liked it. Like it got horrible reviews. But now
so
Blade Runner's Blade Runner.
Yeah, when did it turn the corner?
This was in like the heyday of in the 90s. You would get the director's cut.
Right.
And then before every DVD said, "Oh, director's cut." This was like, "Oh, whoa!" Blade Runner got a director's cut. Aliens got a director's cut, and it was like this big deal of like, "Oh my god!" Like now we'll get to see their true vision.
Yeah.
And I think that when that happened, people really started to come around to it. It fires on all cylinders. It's one of those just like near perfect films where just the cinematography, the story, the acting, it's just all so cool.
Near perfect films in its subsequent releases. Right. I think that's interesting. So we don't see a lot of directors' cuts anymore. Like that doesn't happen. There's all these
most directors either get it or they're the type of movie that doesn't warrant it. Like nobody wants to see the director's cut of Jumanji.
There's supposedly an 8-hour cut of Bridesmaids, which I would absolutely watch. 8 hours of them improving and bullshitting. I think that's one of the funniest comedies.
Same thing. When Anchorman on the original DVD release, it comes with a whole another movie.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Anchorman 1.5.
And it's this weird side. So it's kind of the same movie, but instead of like the main plot is now these like people who are doing like a bank heist, and the guys kind of get involved in it. And it's funny because it's definitely a new movie, but there's still like a couple scenes that it shares. And it's weird that so many people don't know about that one.
It's weird that you can have a script so loose and so expansive that you can get that much content.
Right, that you edit that out. That's crazy. And then I'm surprised that they didn't actually re-release that on its own. Like that was just a feature on the DVD.
Oh no! Anchorman 1.5 did get released.
Oh, okay. Because I definitely have it on my DVD as like, oh, go here to see like part whatever.
Got it. All right, solid pick.
That was my first one.
Well, I'm gonna follow that up with my pick for sci-fi. I don't have any movies here that kind of tick a box for horror or even suspense, really, except for this movie.
Just in case.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm not saying anything. Okay. So this movie kind of does both of those genres in one. This is Sunshine, directed by Danny Boyle. Nice. And the premise of this movie is so exciting. I just love it. So in this movie, the sun is failing and shutting down. And so there's a bold, daring plan to go kind of, defibrillate the sun, and they're going to drop a nuclear bomb onto the sun. And so this team of astronauts or whatever you call space travel people are taking a payload of a nuclear bomb, and I think they're like the second ship. There was one ship that tried to do it before them, and it got lost somewhere on the journey to the sun. And so they go on their mission, and when they're midway there, they find the first ship. And they decide that, hey, let's go pick up that bomb and we can add it to what we already have. And, that's just going to like make things go a little bit, more kaboom. And so then the movie has a dramatic tonal shift when they pick up the crew and they realize why that ship failed its mission. And it has this like really stark change from just a sci-fi movie with this very simple but engaging premise to one of survival and horror. And I think that the shift happens naturally. And there are other unnamed wonderful sci-fi horror movies that I want to name but won't do so now. And those this movie doesn't, it surprises you in the tonal shift. Like I had no idea that this was coming, and half of the movie is not that. And it's not like when you watch a scary movie and that the beats are just light, but it's gonna turn dark and scary, and you like know that that's coming. And this movie is almost an entirely separate movie before that tonal shift happens, and I think that is so fun to watch, and to watch the whole production change.
Okay, so I love this movie, man. This is a super cool movie. I think the word surprising is a nice way to talk about the tonal shift.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing that I didn't mention is when I bought this movie, I bought it before Blu-ray was out, and when Blu-ray was announced and that was becoming a thing, I remember just waiting. The only movie I cared about that to come out on Blu-ray was Sunshine, and that's because it has such gorgeous vestiges of the sun and space. And I mean,
this might be Danny Boyle's best film for like an hour and a half, and then the drop happens.
I take it you don't like the second half of the movie?
Not as much. I don't. Surprising isn't the word I would use to describe the tonal shift.
Dang.
I think so much. The movie is so good up until that point.
Yeah.
That I recommend this movie wholeheartedly to everyone. Like, I love this film. This is super underrated.
Yeah, it is.
And it has Captain America killing it.
It has Cillian Murphy, and a scary Cillian Murphy is my favorite.
The movie is so cool, and I wish Danny Boyle made more films like this. This reminds me of like before he made Slumdog Millionaire, he was doing cool shit like this.
Absolutely. Everything he did before that was so inventive and unique.
And like, and then after that, it just felt like he was trying to do prestige films. Like 127 Hours is okay, but I don't know.
It's fine.
Yeah, like nothing like. Also, do you know who wrote this? This is Alex Garland.
Alex Garland, hell yeah.
Who goes on to make Ex Machina and Annihilation, which are not on this list, and they weren't on the short list either. But I thought for a second about Ex Machina.
Oh, I had forgotten about Alex Garland writing it. That's amazing.
Yeah, but. I mean, yeah, it just shows you that Alex Garland has such a great mind for sci-fi. Solid pick though, man. Like this might be in like my top 30 of all time, as much as I don't like the ending.
Yes.
Like I really enjoy this film, and I'm with you. I remember waiting for this to come on Blu-ray because I was like, I need to see this not in this horrible TV, like.
And it was worth the wait. It looks amazing.
Oh yeah. This is one I would love to see like at the Draft House or something, like at some place that'll show like an older movie. Because I've never seen this in theater.
Yeah, me neither.
I don't even remember if it got. I'm sure it got a theatrical release, but I don't even remember when it got released. Because all of a sudden, I remember hearing about the film, seen some stuff about it, and then all of a sudden it was on DVD, and so I was like, okay, cool.
I think it was in 07. What were you doing in 07?
So in LA.
Yeah. So you were too busy doing LA shit with LA shit with your friends.
Mm-hmm. All right. So my next one. No, not yet. Not yet. Not for this one. So my next one is Batman '89.
Wow. Tell me the boxes this ticks.
So many. Hopefully. Look, dude, I love me a summer blockbuster as much as the next guy. Like, and I thought, like, again, when I was thinking about this, I was trying to be honest with myself. Like, I think I would be betraying myself if I didn't say how much I liked a good blockbuster.
Okay.
You know, and like a good blockbuster. You know, not some piece of shit Hollywood just throw away. Like, I like most of the Marvel films, but then there's those Marvel films that go above and beyond that are amazing.
I honestly will tell you the truth. I don't. Besides Black Panther, don't know if I've ever felt that way about a Marvel blockbuster.
Winter Soldier is such a good movie. No, not on this list. Not a shot.
It's okay. I mean, it's good within.
Don't watch Winter Soldier. That's a great film. So I was going to say, Batman '89. I saw when I was a kid. Blew my mind. This is what I imagine that Riley's head is doing the same things that this movie did to me. But at the time, Batman was the only thing, and there was no other thing, and no other thing was coming. Riley gets it like 5 times a year.
Right. That's a good point.
Batman up on the screen being a badass and weird, and like, you know, Michael Keaton's like doing this super cool, like very damaged Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Still has super cool gadgets. Still fighting the Joker. Still fighting the Penguin. I guess not in this version, but I picked '89 because one, it nostalgia. Like I saw it early on. I like the slight cheesiness and the more cartoony aspects that Burton's using.
Yeah,
and I think that speaks to a certain sensibility that I really enjoy. As much as I love Nolan's Dark Knight, I think '89 probably speaks to my sensibilities a little bit more.
It's interesting. I think that post the Nolan trilogy, we look back kinder on that first trilogy.
Oh, absolutely. And arguably, like, people really start to realize that, okay, '89 and then Returns are, as much as they're technically in the same universe, need to be separated from the Schumacher ones. Burton's doing something really cool, bringing it that gothic sensibility that Batman needs, as well as keeping the comic book stuff for it. Dude, Nolan brings Batman into the real world and makes superheroes seem real, which is awesome. But this was a comic book on film. This is one of the first times you really see it. I'm not a Superman guy. Like, I as much as I love Superman, the comic and the character, and I'll defend that. I don't actually like it when people say he's not a good character. But the Richard Donner Superman was never one of my favorite films. Like, I've always been a Batman guy. I love Tim Burton's Batman. This is a great blockbuster. This is a weird film to be in the mainstream.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. Like, Jack Nicholson freaking batting for the fences, and it's dark as shit. Like, the guy falls into a vat of acid and loses all of his skin. Like, and Batman kills him. Like, this is a dark film, like, for the whole family to enjoy. And
they do.
And like that kind of dark humor, again, I think that speaks to me a little bit more than Nolan's film. As much as, you know, again, that's probably a better film. But when we're talking about, okay, where in your sensibilities do these lie? Burton's film definitely fits that more. So you have that dark humor, you have that superhero. Like, I'm such a comic book nerd, and you have that summer blockbuster that can kind of, like, you know, bring you up. Like those summer blockbusters at their best are films that you walk out of so like energetic and rejuvenated. Like, I'll walk out of a film like First Reformed or The Fountain or any of those. Like, The Fountain's on this list.
There's the shot. I don't have one poured, but that's how confident I am. I'm not going to mess up.
But I don't know if I had to say that because it was for a different reason. But I'll walk out of those films being super excited, right? Because I've seen something brilliant, something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different kind of feeling when you walk out of like a Star Wars film, you know? like when you walk out of a really fun summer blockbuster that you enjoyed and realize that it wasn't just popcorn and it wasn't just shit, like that it actually hit all those boxes, like that's something impressive. I remember this will be controversial, but me and Riley both, I love Last Jedi. I think Last Jedi is amazing. I think that's my number 2 Star Wars film of all time.
Oh, you know I back you up there.
Yeah. Walking out of that, me and Riley, again, this wasn't on this list, so I'm not taking a shot for that. Me and Riley walked out of that theater, looked at each other, and were like, what the hell did we just watch? That was just mouths agape. Wow, that was so incredible. Nothing is ever going to beat that. That was so fucking cool.
Yeah. I think The Last Jedi was that. I think that the only consistent modern blockbuster series that I can think of that is delivering at that level consistently is the Mission Impossible series.
I'll go with you there.
That's the only modern blockbuster that I actually get excited to watch.
Fair enough. Like I said, I like the Marvel films, and they're all enjoyable. And then, every once in a while you get Black Panther, Winter Soldier, Civil War, Homecoming.
Homecoming was good.
All right, so that's Batman 89. I'm telling you, man, these are struggles, dude. Fucking lots. Literally, I've been thinking about this since I texted it to you.
Okay, here's my comedy pick. My comedy pick is Shaun of the Dead.
Nice. Good.
Which I really, really enjoy. I love. What's the name? I always forget the name of the trilogy that he created.
Cornetto,
yeah. I wonder why I forget it.
It's the ice cream.
Okay. Gosh, I don't know where to start.
Shaun of the Dead burst onto the scene, man, and to a whole set of people who didn't know who Edgar Wright was because they didn't watch Spaced, they realized that this fucker is going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's one of those ones that's so joke dense, but the delivery is so subtle and subdued that it never bashes you over the head to say this is a joke. And I love that. I recently watched Burn After Reading, and I think at the end of the movie, I said out loud, I don't think that they ever told a single joke in that movie, and yet I was laughing the entire time through. So I like that
one again. There's this awesome YouTube series. I forgot what it's called, but it basically shows why Edgar Wright's films are so much better than any romantic comedy.
Okay. Do you remember any of it?
Yeah. Because it talked about how in a romantic comedy, let's say you're moving from Connecticut back to Phoenix.
Okay.
In a romantic comedy, it would show you getting in the car and maybe making a mixtape, and it would play Sweet Home Alabama or whatever, Salisbury Hill, probably Salisbury Hill, and it would show you passing through Route
66, baby.
Yeah, some rural areas. Maybe you grabbing a cup of coffee or something, and then it would show a bridge, and then you come into a big city.
Whoa,
Phoenix, like that. And it'd be ding 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 ding, climbing up on Salisbury Hill. It'd be Rika Wasman didn't know what home was. Anyways, but then it showed Edgar Wright's film, right? And this is how Edgar Wright shows him going, and it's these really interesting cuts, and it he gets into a taxi, and then once he gets to the next place, the taxi's lights are different, and it's these little subtle visual clues that show you that not only is he traveling, but he's in a different location than before. It shows him on the train. It shows these and then once I think he gets on and off the train, and it shows the different people on the trains at both stops, and they're significantly different. Ones are these city people, and the others are these country bumpkins, and it's all this stuff shows you that he's the same thing, but it's done without all the bullshit.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
It's done without stock footage. It's done there's no Salisbury Hill, there's no Peter Gabriel, who I love Peter Gabriel. Don't email us about that. But it's Edgar Wright, his films are so tight.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of thought that goes into all of the
He's got
transitions
no
in that
back.
film. Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I think you said that better than I could have.
he does this thing where he in most of his films apparently he gives away the whole film in the first like 10 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
Have you heard this?
I
It's
don't
really
think so.
interesting. Where like, oh, why do that? Because we're just gonna do this, 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 and this, and that's kind of what, and like it's what ends up happening in each film. He does
That's
it
amazing.
at least for the Cornetto trilogy. It's what happens.
I feel like he does that for Scott Pilgrim as well. Like
That one
Scott.
I'd have to watch it. Although Scott Pilgrim might be my favorite of his,
Oh wow, that's bold.
mostly because I fucking love Scott Pilgrim. Like I read, like that's a great comic.
It is a great comic.
Have you read it?
Uh, no, I haven't.
Oh,
I sorry. I guess I can imagine it's a great comic, but just based on like the idea that movie is, because it's so cool and interesting.
dude, and that's another. As cool as that movie is, the comic is somehow even better.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So okay, talking a little bit more about Shaun of the Dead though, because this hits some horror elements.
It does hit some horror elements, and I love. I think my favorite scene of the entire movie is when they're locked in the Winchester, and Queen starts playing, and they go on a zombie bashing spree, and it's such a good fusion of horror and comedy, because there is real peril, and it's not. I think at least one or two characters die in the 10 minutes around that scene, and so it's not like, oh, this is a moment of levity and you don't need to be scared, but he's able to like make you smile and laugh the whole time, afraid that people are going to die, and they do. And I think that's the reason that I think it's such a good fusion and that I like it.
There's a scene where I think Bill Nighy has just been bitten, and he's like in the car, but he's still kind of like chastising Sean about driving the car.
For right, because it's his baby.
Yeah, and it always makes me laugh. Like, and Sean's like trying so hard to just save everyone at this
Yeah.
point, and Bill Nye is still there, like, and he does it. And one, Bill Nye is such a good actor that it manages to be like, he doesn't hate Sean from the beginning of the movie.
Hmm.
Even when you first meet him, you know that it's just this like father, like stepfather kind of relationship.
Yeah,
Like,
he's just playing the role, like the yeah.
and that's awesome. That's so hard to do. It would be so easy for him to just be a dick to Sean.
Yeah.
But the way he delivers it, the way he looks at him, you can tell it's from this like, it's like he almost like he wants him to be better than he is for like their mother, for this woman that they both love. That
Yeah.
that subtlety, I have no idea where I would start to do that.
Yeah. Also very well put.
Like that's freaking awesome. This movie's great. Probably not anywhere near mine though.
Okay. All right.
All
That's
right,
that's
but
my
that's funny. My next one would be my horror one. I think this has got to be the one.
okay.
Yeah. So I picked Reanimator.
Oh, I have not seen this.
Really?
No.
Oh man, we might have to watch this next time you're here more than a weekend. Because it's
Well,
fucking good.
tell me on it, right? Like this is a pick for me.
So Reanimator, and real quick, this is clearly my horror pick, and I'm going to get to why this made it. But easily in this place could have been Rosemary's Baby
Yeah.
or The Thing.
I think we have to do shots now because you're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yeah, we do.
Do I need to pour a shot? Okay, keep going.
All right, you ready?
I don't have a shot. Hold on.
Okay.
All right, call me back in.
You ready?
Yeah.
All right. So let's do the shot, and then we'll get into why I feel like it's there.
I already went for it.
I can see that. Okay. Rosemary's Baby and The Thing are both really, really seminal horror movies. I love them. I've actually seen both of them in the theater.
Oh, that's amazing.
I feel privileged to have been able to do that.
Yeah, no kidding.
And both great experiences. I've actually don't know if I haven't seen Reanimator in the theater yet. I would love to.
Yeah.
But as cool as those are, I think Reanimator ticks a little bit more boxes for me. And again, we can go back to the watchability. Although every time I put on Rosemary's Baby, and the only thing that kind of holds that back slightly is that it's long.
I didn't put Rosemary's Baby on my list. It's on my short list, simply because of that. I thought it was harder to get into, a little less accessible than something like Shaun of the Dead.
It's a little longer, but every time I put it on, I fucking sit there the whole time.
I mean, it's engrossing. It's engrossing.
I don't realize how entertaining the whole 2.5 hours is. But
yeah,
but before, it's one of those films where before you put it on, though, you're thinking like, fuck, like it's this 2.5 hour film about this lady who's pregnant.
Sure, but it's a 2.5 hour critique of society as it existed in the late 60s. And you have to explain that to somebody. And so for me, not only is the length and, harder to digest or inaccessible, but also like the fundamental core of what that movie is speaking to is just a little harder to digest.
And the thing, just real quick, I wanted to be on here. It hits a gore level that doesn't really exist anywhere else on my list. And I actually do like gore quite a bit, especially done right, like done with some style and with some skill.
Hell yeah!
Aside from just being another sci-fi film, which sci-fi almost kicked it off, which is why I kind of go to Reanimator. Reanimator, it clips too. It's like 85 minutes. It's a Cthulhu story, not Cthulhu, Lovecraft. It's a Lovecraft story, directed by Stuart Gordon.
That's amazing. There's not enough Lovecraft movies.
Yeah,
surprisingly.
This isn't in the Cthulhu mythos though, although it does take place at Miskatonic University.
Oh man, I'm in,
dude. So this film is so good. And I remember growing up. So real quick, growing up, I remember watching American Beauty in high school and being like, "Wow, that was a really great movie," which I don't think holds up to the test of time. But in the film American Beauty, they make fun of constantly this film Reanimator, which I didn't realize was a real film because I was a sheltered kid or whatever.
Watching American Beauty.
Yeah, go to college, realize Reanimator is a real film. I watch it, and it's a fucking horror classic. This film is amazing. It stars who's the guy? He Herbert West. So the main character is Herbert West, and the first scene is him bringing this guy back to life, and in some Swiss college, and he gets kicked out. And then he has to go to Miskatonic University, and there he meets up with this guy, and who's dating the dean's daughter, and he's studying brain. He's studying to be a neurosurgeon. And Herbert West is convinced that you can reanimate the brain. And his professor's like, no, like the brain can only last for like 10 minutes after death. And Herbert West is like, fuck, you can reanimate it and it can live forever afterwards. And it's all about that, right? So Herbert West comes up with this serum, this reanimation serum, and manages to reanimate a cat, his roommate's cat, who accidentally dies. And the cat comes back to life and immediately is feral and vicious and attacks Herbert West in the most hilarious, like horrible puppet cat on his neck, like holding it like this, just like going around, and he's like fighting with it, and Herbert West is just giving it his all. I gotta look up the actor's name real quick.
Jeffrey Combs.
Yeah, Jeffrey Combs. Okay, Jeffrey Combs, who's been in a bunch of horror films. Like once you see him, he's kind of on the outskirts, but he's been in a decent amount of stuff. He was even in the 4400. And Jeffrey Combs is just the fucking baller actor. He kills it. he dials this shit to 11. He is like unhinged, but yet controlled somehow, and like just completely insane. There's a part where they accidentally kill someone, and Herbert West manages to be like, wait, no, this is the freshest body we can have. Now we got to test our theory. Like, where the other guy's like, we just fucking killed a guy.
So he's like the pre-Nicolas Cage. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
So does the movie play it straight?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Arguably, yeah. Like, but it's funny. Like, it's tongue in cheek.
I couldn't tell if it was campy or.
Oh yes, it's absolutely campy throughout the whole thing. But the movie thinks it's taking itself seriously.
Okay.
Right.
I like this. This sounds awesome.
But you're watching, and it's one of those films where like it's so much fun throughout the whole thing, and it's gory as shit. By the end, horrible stuff happens with bone saws, and there's so many bodies that start coming back to life, and there's blood everywhere. And this happens and this happened. There's boobs in it. It has that sensibility of the 80s and 70s where nudity can kind of just happen, you know, where you do a sex scene in a film because these two people had sex, so you put it in. Like,
Makes
that
sense.
doesn't happen anymore. You know, that doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah.
And not
like
that
an airplane when she just like walks across the plane naked.
Right, and it was but like that, like there, it's Barbara Crampton who ends up becoming this kind of like idol of horror films. She's in a bunch of horror films right now, simply because of who she was, who's gorgeous. It's just, this film has everything, dude. It's gory. It's got this slight sci-fi element. It's got this incredible acting. It's funny as shit. It's so entertaining, and it's short. I've absolutely like you. So okay, so we're talking about personal lives a little bit on here. First to say, I've had a rough couple years.
Yeah.
I've absolutely put this film on numerous times at like 1 or 2 in the morning.
Oh.
And just like watched the whole thing and gone to bed smiling.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like a rough day of being in your head, trying not to just drink yourself into oblivion, and like that's what film can kind of do for you sometimes, where it just takes you out of that. And this is one of those films for me where it always takes me to a good place. It's so cool, and like the filmmaking's so on point. Do you know what the Grand Guignol Theater is?
No.
It's this theater movement that was just like overtly gory. And but it's a theater, right? So it's done with like ribbons and like it's this really interesting kind of effects. Stuart Gordon is a student of that. So the movie, like, it has this score, but it's taken from this kind of like history of theater, and you kind of see that throughout.
Okay.
Super cool. I have a really nice Blu-ray copy of it. I've bought this movie 3 times.
I think I need to borrow this. You have absolutely sold me over twice.
It's super cool, dude. I love this film. I've shown this to Riley. Riley likes it. There's a couple of sequels. The sequels aren't as good, but they're equally as fun, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like Reanimator, I would put as like a good movie.
Yeah.
It's gonna be as all hell, but I think it's awesome.
Yeah.
The sequels are absolutely worth watching, but they're the type of films where, like, if me, you, and like Chazzy were here, like getting wasted, then we would watch that.
Reanimator 2, not 1.
Right. We will 1, 2, but like absolutely 2. 2 is that movie you want to watch with friends. 1, like I said, I've watched this numerous times by myself. Like, I love this film. And it's one that, like, when you find people who like it, it's almost like this like camaraderie that already exists.
It
Really,
sounds
really,
like it.
So Reanimator, and that's why I made it here. That's why I made it here over The Thing and Rosemary's Baby, where it just, on a personal level, it's just helped me more than those other films. Again, Rosemary's Baby is a way better film. You know, Rosemary's Baby, again, might be a perfect film.
I think that it is. I mean, it, for so many different reasons, right? The horror is what happens before the horror, and nothing has ever built up tension. Anyways, I can't wait to see this. This sounds awesome.
All right.
And it makes me realize there needs to be more Lovecraft movies. Where's any modern Lovecraft horror?
No, and like, dude, so Del Toro has had the rights to At the Mountains of Madness for years.
Well, and to his credit, he has tried to make it.
Yeah. And he can't get anyone to fund it.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to fund a $200 million R-rated horror movie.
But with Get Out, and now apparently what Us is doing at the box office, which is not enough for a $200 million one, but shows that there's viability there.
Okay, fingers crossed.
Yeah. Also, he won Best Picture 2 years ago. Just let him do one. Let him do his passion piece.
Yeah, seriously, I'll keep pretending to like Shape of Water if that gets me.
Do you really not like Shape of Water?
I mean, it's fine. I have the distinct feeling that we're gonna look back and sort of scratch our heads that one won Best Picture.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. I like the movie. I really do. I mean,
I'll give you that it's not as good as Pan's Labyrinth, but it's still fucking awesome.
Which might be on my short list. I'm not taking a shot for that. No, don't threaten me with a shot.
I'm gonna pour one more just in case, though.
You said First Class in sort of some rambling, off kilter mention there, and I had like a visceral reaction to it because I really did not like that movie. I don't think the same way about Shape of Water as I do that, which is equally lauded and critically appraised, or critically loved. But yeah, I think it's uneven, and I don't understand the story that it was trying to tell. I don't think it was compelling.
That's interesting. I like that. But that's kind of what I start to like about movies, right? That they can be that subjective.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. So my next pick, I'm gonna. It has a lot of the same emotional resonance that Reanimator does to you. And I put this movie on every single time that I move. So every time I move, the first thing that I do, like we're bringing in boxes, the TV gets brought in, and I will set up the entertainment system. And I did this four or five times now. I've like pretty much every move throughout college and after college. And that's about the first thing that I set up, which, says whatever it says about me. And I put on a movie and then continue like unpacking and moving stuff in and doing all of that. And the movie that I put on every single time is Pulp Fiction. And that's the first movie that gets played in my house after I have just kind of unpacked and started this whatever new chapter, new journey that I'm going on. And I think that this movie is expansive. It's accessible yet complex. It has so many different interesting themes to unpack, and so much. It's what's that called? It's not chronological, and so like I enjoy films that aren't. What?
Non-linear narrative.
Yeah, non-chronological. It's not linear, and I find those movies interesting. The ones that like aren't beating you over the head with like you trying to figure it out. Right? You don't necessarily need to figure out the order that Pulp Fiction plays out. Like that's not the gimmick in it. Because I feel like the movies that do that, like that's sort of a, once you have figured out the aha moment and you can put it into the correct chronological order, it no longer is a rewarding movie, like upon subsequent viewings. But Pulp Fiction is non-chronological, but yet it's every time it's engaging and interesting when I go back to it. It has such a diverse cast of characters. And I've loved to like learn all of the little factoids about it. Like when somebody says that Ving Rhames wasn't supposed to be Marcellus Wallace, I'm like, what do you mean he wasn't supposed to? Like, how did Tarantino not write that for Ving Rhames? Because it's just so perfect. And I think that it's my favorite performances for Samuel L. Jackson, for John Travolta, and yeah, I mean it's the epitome of Tarantino and of it's yeah.
This
Um,
this is your favorite Tarantino film?
this is my favorite Tarantino film, one of my favorite scripts as well. Um, I would name the other one that comes to mind as my other favorite script, but I can't because it's on my short list.
Real quick, there's no way, and if there is, please, you can actually email me at my personal email. You can email me at bromo3@gmail.com.
Yeah.
If you remember Rico fighting for Pulp Fiction against Manny Funkowitz on the Portmouth podcast
I do remember this.
years ago, we were doing this bit, which I still loved, but fucking Manny was never consistent enough that we could do it over and over again.
Yeah.
Where we would basically have two opposing views, kind of like, well, there's a whole YouTube channel that does it now called Movie Fights, and it's it's kind of similar, but essentially, one of us would have to be objective, and two people would argue, and you would have to choose not based on your own thoughts, but based on who was able to make the better argument. And
the great debates.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like that too. But this was almost always specifically pop culture based. And the first one we did was Tarantino is a good director, and Rico took the solid yes, and Manny took the solid no.
There's no way I should have won that debate, but I think I did.
I think you might have. I think you did some pretty good stuff, mostly because Manny wanted to rely on like, oh, he's just a piece of shit kind of arguments.
He's a hack.
Yeah,
he doesn't have an original, and that's fine.
That's what bothered me is that Manny never took it seriously. Where you were like, the whole point of the bit was to take it seriously and to make valid arguments.
Yeah.
You know, like that's what's interesting. Like it's not, and Manny thought it would be a joke to make fun of Tarantino.
Well, I think that that whole line of thinking that he's such a cinephile that he doesn't have any originality in him. He's just pulling from everything else that is great. Yeah. I think that in itself can be great. I mean, that takes time and mastery to recognize greatness yourself, to pull on the different threads, to put them together. And Pulp Fiction is such an expansive movie that it demonstrates that skill better than any movie he's ever made.
I know we've talked about Tarantino a couple times, and he's not my favorite. But I would be lying if I said I didn't anticipate each film he makes with relatively, like, you know, so a decent amount of excitement. I much prefer his newest foray into these like retellings of history.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting.
I like those a lot. In fact, I think my favorite film of his, it used to be Death Proof, and then now I think it's Inglourious Bastards.
I love Inglourious Bastards, but I've been thinking a lot about The Hateful Eight, which has gotten better with time, in my opinion.
The Hateful Eight has an amazing script and amazing acting, which his films usually do, but
his films usually have great scripts. But The Hateful Eight is shot and acted like a play. It feels like I'm watching a stage production, and I think that's so cool.
I think too many people overlook how incredible Death Proof is as a piece of horror cinema.
Yeah.
And just like this weird character study, like you talk about structure. It's super interesting it has these two halves. I always love movies that like just eliminate the main characters and then start again. Mm-hmm. I think that's so cool. Kurt Russell, of course, swinging for the fences. Pulp Fiction. God, I can't get over how overrated it is.
Yeah, it's okay.
But, like, it's not bad. I mean, this is one of those things where like it's not bad. It's almost like Fight Club. It's not bad.
Right. And so Fight Club and Pulp Fiction, those are the movies that if you ask them like what Or if you were to survey people and say like, what are all of the movies you have ever seen? The movies that would rank highest on some critics list would probably most consistently be those two movies. You know, maybe Saving Private Ryan or something. Like a lot of people have seen those, and I don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing.
No, but
I'd
like,
rather
you get, and this isn't even the movie's fault. This is the, like, in college, so many people had a fucking Fight Club poster up and thought Fight Club was like the best movie ever made, and then just like you talk to them about it and you realize that they actually don't understand the movie at all.
Yeah.
I kind of felt the same thing with Pulp Fiction, a little bit less, but same thing. So many people just assume that Pulp Fiction is cool because of the violence, because of the way they speak, and don't understand what makes that movie good. As well as, and this is what kills me about Tarantino films overall, is that I want someone to like Tarantino films who can also name all the films that he's referencing.
Yeah.
And then tell me why his is better.
Sure. Well,
Like
I don't think I can do that.
Kill Bill, I don't like Kill Bill. I at least like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
I like Pulp Fiction. I like Reservoir Dogs. I don't like Kill Bill. There is so much in that film that borrows, like that whole film borrows from every other film.
Okay.
And I hate that about that one because there's a coolness to that movie, but none of it is real.
Sure.
None of it. And that bothers me to hell.
So you're saying that like I'm trying to figure out how to describe that. You're saying the derivativeness is not
homage to everyone else, and I'm fine with that.
Wait, hold on. I was talking over you. Say it again.
Tarantino loves to pay homage to people.
You're right.
I actually like that. I think that's super cool. My problem is he does it so much. He straddles that line between homage and, well, I don't know what mimicking.
Derivative.
Yeah. And I think Kill Bill goes too far.
Sure.
I think Pulp Fiction is in the same area, but it bothers me that people don't understand the films that came before it. Same thing with Reservoir Dogs. I don't know how many people have seen Reservoir Dogs that have never seen The Killers. And then you realize, like, wow, you've never seen The Killers, so you don't understand why this film works.
Yeah.
Like, Kubrick made that film years ago. And he made it better.
Yeah.
Like, that's a problem for me. I think that's why Inglourious Basterds, Django, and The Hateful Eight work a little bit better for me. There's a newness there where he's openly admitting to his influences while making something so new because he's rewriting history himself. You know,
that makes sense.
Inglourious Basterds is a Sergio Leone film set in World War II.
Right.
It fucking starts off like Good, Bad, the Ugly, almost shot for shot.
Yeah.
That's fine. I can kind of deal with that because he fully admits to that, and everyone knows Good, Bad, the Ugly. You know, not everybody knows The Killers by Stanley Kubrick, but they should because it's a fucking great movie.
Sure.
You know, not everybody has seen like Fernando de Leo cop movies, but they should because then they would understand what Pulp Fiction's doing.
I haven't seen any of those.
Exactly. And that's my biggest problem with him. Pulp, and I it's one of those like bullshit film school things where I don't.
It totally is. I mean, like I hear your point, and it makes sense, and it makes sense. But if you're saying that it doesn't add anything new to the oeuvre of film, or it doesn't add anything, like it doesn't have anything to say, or there's no artistic vision to it, I feel like there is even in his most derivative films.
Yes, and that's why I don't hate the guy. I think he's a good director.
Right, but this is a problem. This is a problem of the viewer.
Yes, and it's hard for me, and this is my bad, to separate that person.
That makes sense.
But as a film lover, I could never take away what his films do for you.
Yeah, of course.
Fuck, like I've met people who, you know, like okay, Toy Story is a big one that I've heard where people talk about Toy Story as a film that, oh dude, like they watch that all the time because that's what makes them feel warm and cuddly. You know, like people my age, like Toy Story does that for them.
Okay.
You know, like so I said that because I don't want to accidentally list anything on my list. Um,
There's a bold choice, but okay.
but you know what I mean?
Toy Story.
Okay, fuck you. Toy Story is great. It's on my list. God damn it.
Is it really?
No, it's not. But I get that. I'm fine with that. I understand how his films could kind of touch people. I understand how his films could. Not only that, I understand how his films could inspire people to make film, which I also love, or to enjoy film. Now, and I think what he does for you is what I want him to do is that he inspires you to go look for more films.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%.
Because you understand that as original as he is as a filmmaker, he owes so much to these other filmmakers. So you're willing to look beneath the surface and go find other things. And that's why I'm super cool with you liking Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that's always been the case.
I want to say that's why you won against Manny. But I'd have to go back and listen to that. If I find the link, by the way, I'm absolutely linking that in this podcast.
Oh my god!
I don't even know. Like, I assume it's still up. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't bothered even looking at that podcast in a long time.
See, this is why I always get nervous to talk movies with you.
But that's what's fun.
Oh no, I totally agree.
No, dude, solid choice. And I remember how much. I remember one day you got like a. Did you get like a Quentin Tarantino Blu-ray box set or something?
Mm-hmm.
And you were like, bro, I'm off for 3 days. I'm just gonna sit at home with a big beer and watch all these films. That sounds awesome. Like,
it is awesome.
His films are entertaining as hell.
I generally skip over Kill Bill as well, for what it's worth.
Nice. Do you really? I actually didn't know that. How do you feel about Jackie Brown?
Underrated, but also not. It's a strong script. I don't think it is a strong movie.
Oh, I think it. Yeah, it's underrated for sure. It's not as watchable as the others, but it's real well made. When you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, this is a really well made film.
Yeah, maybe that's all it is. It's just like it's harder,
especially off of Pulp Fiction, dude. It is nowhere near as flashy.
Yeah.
You also don't have John Travolta just like and Sam Jackson chewing the shit out of the scenery.
Dude, I could watch those scenes and honestly, I quote them all the time. They're the most watchable scenes. I haven't seen more chemistry between two people than I have the two of them talking about if you can give someone a foot massage.
So, okay, it's funny you say that because I would argue that one of the films that has the best chemistry that I've seen in recent years is Captain Marvel. And Brie Larson and Sam Jackson, like, to just make films together for the rest of time. Dude, those two.
I like that.
Like, they're amazing together. I don't know what it is about them. Like, also, there's like no sexual tension there at all.
No.
There
wasn't. I like that. That's awesome.
I love that it's still Sam Jackson.
I love that he's like 70.
Well, also like way more chemistry than him and Maria Hill, where in the comics, him and Maria Hill are BFF for like BFFL.
But
whatever.
Nobody cares about Maria Hill though, so it doesn't.
But I love Colby Smulders, and I was hoping she'd be a better actress than she is.
Yeah, she has not been great.
She's not.
Yim.
Okay. So my next one is arguably my comedy pick. That's not exactly why I chose it, although it is a funny film. And that is Duck Soup.
Oh my god. I'm pretty sure I had to watch this in films in a film class I took in college. Yeah. Okay. Man. So I've only seen this once. I'm not going to remember much about it, but
Duck Soup is Groucho becomes the dictator of a country. Chico and Harpo end up being spies trying to invade the country. But it's a Marx Brothers film, so the plot really doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it is so hard to explain to modern audiences how brilliant this film is. It 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 dismantles fascism so well.
Mm-hmm.
It talks about the ridiculousness of dictatorship, and like modern society, and just like it fucks with the aristocracy. It's so like the political messages in the film are so incredible, while at the same time being incredibly hilarious. This is the sad part about this film is it's in black and white, and it's kind of like an old timey film, but I think most people would laugh at it.
Oh, it's if I remember this, and I don't want to confuse it with Modern Times, which I know is that's a Chaplin from the Chaplin from the same era. But all of those movies, the ones that like we still talk about today, were hilarious. All the Chaplin brothers, all the Marx Brothers movies, super funny. I think they hold up well if you give them the time. If you give them the time and the opportunity.
And that's the thing is these aren't like there's parts of the film that are like rapid fire joke a minute, but like they're bits and it's repetition and it's like it's not even highbrow humor at all. Like there's a lot of physical comedy and like
pants getting pulled down.
Yeah, but it's silly stuff like that. There's this whole bit with hats that's hilarious, and it's Duck Soup. So I chose this because I discovered this in film school.
Yeah.
And not even in film school. I was taking film classes, but I was just reading as much as I could on film. And one of the films that everybody said I needed to watch on all these articles was Duck Soup. So I went and found it at the local video store and watched it. And I'd never seen the Marx Brothers before. This is the first Marx Brothers film I saw. And since then, I think I've watched most of what I could find. I like just like that. Like I cracked up the whole way. 10 minutes in, I knew this was my shit. This is so funny. And then after rewatching it, like it's so good, and it's such a smart treatise on like the idiocracy of war. Like they end up going to war at some point and end up blowing up both countries, and it's this whole like. There's no reason for any of this. The whole thing is about the absurdity of everything and why why we do it. And the end reason is we don't know. No one knows. At one point, Groucho is leading the country, and he's doing something. He's trying to indict these spies. He captures Chico and Harpo, and he's trying to send them to jail. And then something happens, and then Groucho ends up defending them, even though he's the leader of the other country that caught them. And their play on words is so good.
Yeah.
Duck Soup just it ticks. So okay, so the reason I chose it's funny in a really intelligent way, which is usually the comedy I like. Which for the most part, I'm not a big fan of comedies. The way a lot of people are. Like I was talking to friends about it. Like I don't know if Ace Ventura or Dumb and Dumber hold up for me.
Oh, I would love to talk about movies from the early 90s, comedies, and see if they hold up. It's such an interesting thought experiment.
Okay, let's table that. But those movies as a kid I thought were hilarious, and I definitely have recently seen clips of Ace Ventura and have been like, okay.
Yeah.
But Duck Soup, Abbott and Costello, not on this list, so I'm not taking a shot. Like you said, I'm not going to mention the other guy you said because he might be on this list.
So tell me the film lineage post Duck Soup. So Doctor Strangelove, I feel like is a spiritual successor.
First, I watched Doctor Strangelove in high school, but yeah,
okay.
Doctor Strangelove definitely is a antecedent. He came after whatever that word is. Duck Soup definitely leads to Doctor Strangelove.
Yeah. Has there been anything since that you would put in the same caliber in terms of satire? And
what does really well is there's this British film called In the Loop.
In the Loop. I don't know.
It's actually okay. Do you know who Peter Capaldi is?
I don't think so.
He was the newest Doctor before the Lady Doctor. He was in a TV show that In the Loop is based off of. In the Loop is this awesome British movie that's super funny. That would be a really good example. of it. I mean, I haven't seen Vice, but I'm guessing Adam McKay is trying to do that.
What's the? Oh God, I'm forgetting the name, and I watched it recently. Hold on.
The Men Who Stare at Goats.
No, I have not seen that. Hold on. Did I not write it on my list? Sorry. Now that I've broken the piece, I'm just gonna go look for this movie. What's
Nice.
the? It's a World War II.
Not
Satire. It's yeah. It's a movie about Hitler. And it has
not Charlie Chaplin one.
No, I'm talking about it's brand new. It's Steve Buscemi's in it.
Oh God, I have no idea what you're talking about now. Not Inglourious Bastards.
No, hold on. Why did I click on Wikipedia and not IMDb? The Death of Stalin.
Oh yeah, okay. That's actually the one I was thinking of. I've heard that.
Hold on. I'll cut us back in.
Right.
I just recently watched a satire political film that might be maybe the next spiritual successor here that works well. That's The Death of Stalin. Have you seen that?
No, but I actually think that's the same director as In the Loop.
Oh, okay. Wait, so tell me about In the Loop.
In the Loop is about British Parliament, and I forgot what's happening, but one member of Parliament keeps making mistakes, and Peter Capaldi basically plays a fixer trying to stop it. And then you have all these other stories. There's a story between these two interns, and it's amazing.
I bet Theresa May wishes she had a fixer right now.
Yeah, okay, absolutely. Yeah, this is the guy. He wrote In the Loop, and he writes for Veep.
Oh, and he writes for Veep. Holy shit. Okay. I'm gonna go watch that. That'll be my kind of movie.
Dude, In the Loop is real good. Another one that, like, one of those films where people are like, oh, what's kind of a cool movie? Like, oh, you know what? Have you ever seen this? This is really funny. It's super funny. Love it. But yeah, I think those are all pretty good successors to Duck Soup. It started that. It also, I'm a big fan of old-timey humor in general. I love Chaplin. I love Buster Keaton. I love Abbott and Costello. This one I chose because I think it's probably the one I've watched most, and the one that I felt the closest to. There's other ones that were real close to making the list, but this one this is one of those I can just put on, and another one where I can just watch for like 30 minutes and just laugh my ass off because it's just so good. Also, so cool to just see how talented the brothers are on just riffing off each other, and you can't even tell, like, there's no way the whole thing, like, it doesn't feel like it was scripted, right? Like, at least half of the movie doesn't feel scripted. Like, it just feels like they're riffing the whole time. And it's just it's awesome. Duck Soup, super, super cool. Recommended to anybody.
Good pick.
What do you got next?
Okay, my next one, I'll go with my oldest film on my list. I am dreading the backlash here because I know that it's a pretty critically lauded movie, but I think that it's damn funny, extremely emotional, and holds up really well. It's such an accessible movie for how old it is, and that is Casablanca.
Oh, that's great,
man! It's such a pure, beautiful romance movie, and I like the romance that exists between the French captain and Humphrey Bogart the most, because they have such a beautiful bromance in that movie, and it's so fun to watch the two of them interplay with each other.
So this never made it onto my actual typed on almost haves, but I definitely was like toying
thinking about it
with Maltese Falcon for a while. So
That would have been a great pick too. Yes.
Casablanca is amazing.
It is amazing. It's one of those ones that I know is so loved, that I was worried about putting it on here a little bit, but man, if you haven't seen this movie, it's so, the pitch is so easy, and when you watch it, you realize like just how much you probably have dismissed old movies. And I hear that a lot, right? And like somebody says, "Well, I can't watch it because it's black and white." My answer is, you should go watch Casablanca, because you'll realize within 5 minutes how wrong you were about everything.
Aside from, so I mean, I'm a film nerd, so aside from the fact that like I think black and white films can be gorgeous.
It is gorgeous. That's what I'm saying. It's like from the writing,
when you watch jokes, film, you forget within the first 10 minutes that there's no color.
I've never seen a more gorgeous woman than Ingrid Bergman in Casablanca. I mean, you don't need color to see the most beautiful details. Yes, it's a testament to that.
This was also made in a time when people were using what's called silver nitrate for film, and I was lucky enough to watch a silver nitrate print of this film, and it's one of those things where like there's just a texture to it, like, and it's indescribable because it doesn't exist now. It's one of those differences where you watch a DVD or a VHS and you watch a film print, and I assume it's the same way for people who listen to CDs, cassettes, and then records. When you watch a film print of something, there is something there. There are certain imperfections because of dust, because of this or that give that film life. And watching that again, I was lucky enough to watch a silver nitrate print, and it literally crackled on screen, and it was just fucking awesome.
So you got to see that like on a projector on a big screen.
Oh yeah, so I was lucky enough, for those of you who don't know, I was lucky enough to go to UCLA, take a bunch of film classes. This was part of our final to watch Casablanca.
Yeah. That's super cool.
Yeah, damn. And like it was one of those things where like, I don't know. I remember because it was a class that everyone could take, so I remember being like one of those people who were like, "You guys don't realize how lucky we are," and then everyone kind of being like, "Eh."
Oh, man.
And like, you know, half of those people realized, okay, the error in their ways, and the other half were still like, yeah, it was in black and white.
Hey, 10 years later, you were right.
Right? But dude, great. Solid pick. All right, so my last pick, all right, so my last pick is.
Are you changing your mind on the fly? I like this.
No, I'm not.
You sure?
Yeah, this was probably the most difficult because, and I'll tell you, and I didn't know what I wanted to do with my last pick. So far, I talked about kind of sci-fi, kind of futuristic detective films. I talked about superhero films and blockbusters. I talked about horror films and gore. I've talked about
comedy,
like comedy and older films, and this kind of like
satire.
Yeah, like a satire kind of. That's actually that's a great way to put it. And I knew I needed to talk about foreign films somewhat, and I knew to talk about a kind of a certain time, and that was tough. Whereas I didn't know what time I wanted to talk about, because I love so much of what film has been over the years, and outside of America, there's been so many great movements, and it was tough because Korean cinema in the early 2000s was doing some really amazing things. That was probably the closest one to me. You have Italian cinema in the 60s doing neorealism. But I think the French New Wave is arguably my favorite time of filmmaking. And you have people like Truffaut and Godard and Chabrol and Melville just churning out the coolest shit. Also, let's go back to Tarantino. Tarantino jerks off to the New Wave in every film.
You're gonna have to give me some recommendations.
Everything by any director I just mentioned, but I'll give you some better ones later. This was a tough one. So just from the new wave in general, because I want to mention a couple is Reefy Fee was really cool. Weekend from Jean-Luc Godard. So Weekend from Jean-Luc Godard is in my top 5 of all time. No, my top 10 of all time.
These are so many shots you have to take.
I know you have Le Samurai from Melville. You have all this stuff, but the one that I ended up with is in my top 5 of all time. And we'll take this shot real quick first. Here we go. Three shots down, it's still delicious. Okay.
There's like some guy at the Cheesecake Factory. He's like, bring me another slice.
Whew. Okay. All right. So the one I ended up with, and this is one of the things where it kind of, again, it's the personal level that speaks to me on it. It's the moments that I've had with this film. I remember watching it, and this is another one. I was lucky enough, I watched this in film school class, and I remember the day I watched it, I went out after class to go buy it on some bullshit DVD, and I still don't have the Blu-ray, which actually bothers me quite a bit. But anyways, it's The 400 Blows by Francois Truffaut in my top 5 of all time. 400 Blows is arguably the start of the new wave. When you talk about the new wave, you talk about Breathless, you talk about Le Samurai, and you talk about 400 Blows. 400 Blows is usually the impetus because the whole movie is essentially about the new wave. It's about youth overcoming the oppression of their elders, breaking the rules, and creating something beautiful. The 400 Blows at its heart is just this tale of this kid. His mom is cheating on his dad, and he's kind of not a bad kid, but he kind of acts out here and there, and then he tries to do good, and it doesn't always work out the way he wants it to. It's a super simple story. Oh,
God.
But in that, it mirrors the new wave. It's these group of kids who respect the past, and in the movie, he tries his hardest to do a book report about Balzac, Honoré Balzac, who's a really great French writer, which I happen to have a degree in French literature. So if you guys want to talk about that, go ahead and email me at brumler3@gmail.com. But that's kind of like the French New Wave. You know, they respect their elders, but at the same time, they want to break all the rules.
Yeah.
And do something completely different. And it's exactly what this kid is doing. He's trying to like be his own person and kind of escape from under the hands of his adults. It has this super famous end shot where he runs onto the beach and the camera zooms in really quickly to his face. And you've seen it done a million times. Family Guy's made fun of it, which fuck them. But Simpsons has done it as well, which that was a great shot. And so many other people have really done kind of like a parody of the shot. The film, it's up until so people don't get like up until this time, like film had an established language that was used. You know, you have shot reverse shot, which is me and you talking to each other. You show me, and then you show you, and then you show me, or you have what's called like tracking shots, where you kind of follow us along.
Mm-hmm.
The wave comes along, and they say, "Fuck that! We don't need standard coverage. Meaning you don't need shot reverse shot. You don't need tracking shots. You can now we can cut however we want. We can do these obtuse angles, which came from Germany. You can do you can move the camera handheld. You can place it in all these different locations. Like, oh, maybe you shoot from like up top, or maybe you shoot from here or there, or maybe you just follow the kid for minutes at a time running, or maybe you spin the camera around, and it's just
the things that we take for granted.
Exactly, and the new wave does this so beautifully. And 400 Blows is one of those films. Like again, like it's about so much of it is about like youth overcoming obstacles and
so it is the new wave about that story that you're describing about young people.
Yes, exactly.
Breaking, okay, but so it doesn't have anything to do with like the technical filmmaking aspects that they were introducing.
So the new wave is absolutely about them. They respected. So the new wave was like people, they love their elders, right? All they did was watch films their whole like every day. Like all their whole life was watching films, and then they'd go make films. But it was that type of thing where like they'd watch all these films by these old people, right? Like
Yeah.
E.W. Griffith or the guy who made the Ten Commandments. Like these old American, like a lot of them loved gangster films from the 20s. Like they loved Howard Hawks. All of them loved Howard Hawks. And then they would try to break all those rules by like doing these insane edits. Like they invented the jump cut, where you basically cut out seconds of time when you cut. Like they just did all this cool stuff. They would start doing really weird coverage where you would use really awkward second unit hand stuff. Second unit stuff is when you're watching a film and maybe you see my hand grab the beer instead of my body grab the beer. That's called second unit.
Because you can do that whenever.
Right. And like they would use really weird second unit stuff. Like it was or they would just hold shots for really long, or they would have this incredible balance between music and film. The new wave was just pushing film towards new areas. They would do snap cuts. Literally, if you watch a handful of new wave films and then watch Tarantino, you'll see how much he took from them.
So, yeah, actually, I'm really interested in this question. Has Tarantino done anything that you could describe as new wave, in that he took something that he loved, respected, and adored and pushed it forward in an inventive way? Or is your base argument that he is only derivative?
I like to argue that Inglourious Basterds is a pretty interesting idea. My argument for Inglourious Basterds is that he's presupposing that film will save us all.
That is a great message. Yeah.
And like save us all in that like it can do so much for us. And arguably that's what this podcast is all about today, right?
Sure.
I want to believe that as much as I can, and I don't know that I have the skills to argue that perfectly. In the face of someone arguing against me, I think I can argue my point, but I think there's enough argument there against me that I don't usually do it.
Well,
does that make sense? There's a reason Inglourious Basterds isn't on my list.
Yeah. I think the reason that you like Inglourious Basterds is that the screenplay is inventive. So the screenplay itself is unique and original enough, and that Tarantino has enough stylistic flair that it makes that movie interesting and engaging, right? And
I love that it's not a war film at all.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it sounds like what I'm hearing is that he's derivative from a technical standpoint and not inventive there.
Yes, exactly. But there's so many like cute flourishes. She's playing Le Corbeau at her theater, which is called a movie called The Raven. The Raven is about this town that was made during in a period called Vichy France, and it was Le Corbeau is about this person kind of rising up against German occupation, and he called himself the Raven, and nobody knew who he was, but he would always write these periodicals against the German occupation, and it was about saving these children, and so like the sheer fact that he chose that movie to play there means he knows a lot about the history of film, and that like he knows about fighting against the occupation, fighting against the man, and like. It's cheesy, but it's hard to not like that. It's especially nowadays, right?
Yeah, I mean, you do have to like that. I think that you should like that. I think we're going back down the Tarantino rabbit hole there, but right. I think that it is masterful in itself to have such a command and an understanding of the history and the homage.
And that's the thing is he, aside from Kill Bill, I think he manages his homage and his references pretty well. I think they get out of hand at least a little bit in each of his films. I think lately he's been better at it. And I think in Inglourious Basterds, for me, because of the message of film saving the world, like really touched me.
I actually am worried. I just watched the trailer for his newest. I forget the name of it.
Once Upon a Time in
It's
Hollywood.
something. Yeah, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think that he might be doing the things that you like least in his tendencies.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. I don't agree. Like, there's a whole backlash on Twitter about Bruce Lee appearing for 30 seconds.
Why?
I don't know. They say that like he's like using his image without his consent, and I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's super ridiculous.
Right, but we don't need to get into that.
Oh.
But that's my last one. 400 Blows. This is another one like Reanimator, where there were times in college where I would put this on at like 1 a.m. and just watch this like French black and white film and just be up all night. And I would literally write like mini essays about it, right? Like,
really?
yeah, like little or I would take
little vignettes,
kind of like that, like little notes of like, oh, like here's this, or this is what these are thoughts that I had about this or this or this.
Yeah.
I just love that film so much, and I've shown that film to a bunch of people, and I don't know, man.
No, I understand and keep showing it to people. I mean, it's now on my list to watch. I've heard of it before, haven't seen it. I guess I do have one other question, which is there a similar period in American film, or like what would you consider
so
America's?
You have like the stuff in the late 60s, early 70s where Scorsese's really doing really interesting things. You have
Kubrick is killing it.
Yeah, Kubrick's killing it. You have Dennis Hopper making Easy Rider, which is about as far from a
I've seen Easy Rider
standard like film that you can be. Like you have these people doing really kind of crazy stuff, and that's kind of there.
Okay.
And what I like about that is it's done in a very American way somehow. You know, like it's almost blunt in the way they do it.
Mm.
Whereas in Europe, or at least in France, it's done with almost like a deft hand. Does that make sense?
Oh man, I think I want to say yes, and I think that I understand.
You know what I mean? Like
it's a question of subtlety.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay.
And I think that like
we're getting so much headier than I thought we were going to in this episode.
But that's what I love about film, though, man. Like, and I think that's what's amazing. Like, you start to realize, especially when you watch like real films. And this is what I miss. Like I have a kid, so I watch a lot of fucking blockbusters. And as much as I put Batman down on here, like I see all these things. Like when you watch real films, though, like you start to realize, like, okay, decision after decision after decision were made to do this specific thing. Why?
Yeah.
Each decision has to mean something. And when you watch real films, dude, when you watch Scorsese films, even now, like everything means something.
Yeah. Of course.
And whether you like what it means or whether he accomplished it or not is up to debate. Same way with like, you know, the French New Wave or like these or that. And I think so many modern films forget that and they throw in those bullshit scenes that we talked about with Edgar Wright where, oh, let's just show her moving over there. And you waste 30 seconds of film by giving you shit when you could have done something interesting.
Yeah.
That's bad filmmaking.
What's
your last one?
My last one is man, I don't know if I can come back from any of this discussion with any other movies. I think the French New Wave has sealed it and killed it. And at this point, I'm just going to recommend people listen to your list. A movie that like speaks close to my heart in terms of like the subject material. I find it really interesting. I like the question that it posits, and I like how it answers how humanity would respond to it. Is Children of Men, it's a great film. I think it's my least accessible movie that I have on here just because of its length. It approaches 3 hours. It's probably like 2.5, something like that. But it's a pretty slow, it's a pretty slow movie. It's the one that I would say kind of checks my drama box here. But it has Chivo behind the camera, who does, I think, his best work that he's ever done. It's such a gorgeous movie to watch. I mean, like, I'm captivated by the performances of Julianne Moore and Clive Owen. I'm captivated by the premise that it seeks out to tell. I'm captivated by how humanity responds to such a crisis, and kind of underpinning all of that, I'm captivated by how Chivo moves the camera. And this was Guadagno's, I think, first breakout hit in the States, and
I mean, Y Tu Mamá También was pretty popular, but yeah,
that's a good point. I guess there was a pretty big period between the two films there. At least
yeah, dude, this almost made mine because I wanted to put a Cuarón film on here.
Yeah,
and I feel like I would have put this one, if any.
I think so. I think it's
my
definitely
favorite. It's my favorite Cuarón film either way.
It's my favorite Cuarón film by kind of every measuring stick, right? It's my favorite.
And I feel like this. I think the last time I did my list, this is in my top 20 of all time.
Okay, nice. All right, well, I'm feeling a little bit better about my pick.
Like, you talk about modern classics, and like you talk about what I mentioned before. Like, dude, Cuarón is everything he's doing he's doing for a reason. You can tell that.
Yeah.
Like, if he's showing you some background characters, there's a reason.
Yeah.
Like, if people are walking somewhere behind them wearing certain colors, arguably he meant those colors to be there.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that, and it gets to a point where that thoughtfulness went into it, which, oh my God, I think that Roma, which is his most recent movie, actually is the movie where I finally realized and accepted that every single extra that is in the movie, he intended for that extra to move the way that the extra did, and like that's almost incomprehensible to fathom, that he can be directing such like expansive shots with so many moving parts, and he cares about how you are moving as an extra that's all the way in the back in the corner. Because in Roma, he is directing these people that are rioting and then moving into buildings and then doing this and that, and like I couldn't believe what I was seeing almost. And so it's actually made me appreciate some of his prior work that I thought was, in like the great battle scene in Children of Men, where it's obviously so well thought out. But it brought a new light onto his thoughtfulness, and how he collaborates with Chivo.
I really wanted to revisit Y Tu Mamá También a lot to see because I remember really liking that film when I saw it. And I wonder if I would like it even more now, and if there's subtleties there that I just didn't catch at like what
16. Yeah.
Oh, fuck you.
I was gonna go lower.
The one scene I remember, aside from the fact when they all fuck each other, is one of the guys going underwater in this pool in this motel that they're staying at, and the pool is covered in leaves.
Mm-hmm.
It goes underwater, the leaves kind of like come in over him,
as they would. Yeah.
And it's just, I don't know what, it's always stuck with me as like, that is so beautiful,
right? But the thoughtfulness, right? Like, he knows when something goes down, that's that's amazing.
And like, I don't like that. Literally has always stuck with me. I think, dude, Children of Men, like I said, it's probably in my top 20. That almost made the short list, although I just didn't know where it would fit. And I think I had to choose Blade Runner over Children of Men.
Yeah, I think they both tick the drama box.
Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Children of Men, great comment. See, and this is exactly why I wanted to talk about this, because one, I could talk about movies forever. Two, talking about movies that mean something to you, it's just so cathartic.
Yeah, it is. I recently watched some of the pivotal moments in Children of Men. I wanted to like relive and like actually know if I am putting it on a pedestal or if those seminal moments in that movie like still hold up and are as great as I remember them to be. And I've seen the movie many times, but I just like, sorry, I guess what I'm trying to say is I popped the movie like a couple weeks ago and was like, I just want to watch the battle scene. I just want to watch the scene at the house with Michael Caine. I just want to watch like, just a few highlights, and God, they're just so satisfying and so well directed and shot. And yes, it is one of the best modern movies I've seen.
So I do that all the time, especially if I'm alone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll like, whether it's, but so with Blade Runner, with Reanimator, there's a couple movies where I'll put in and then I'm just watching the whole movie. And then there's other movies where like I just want to watch this scene, and then I probably end up watching the whole movie. Like Duck Soup, I'll put in, and then I end up watching the whole thing. Like, oh, I really want to see this scene with Chico and Harpo and the popcorn salesman, which is really funny. 400 Blows, sometimes I'll put in, and I want to see the scene where he starts a fire in the house. I do that all the time, and I love that about films where you're just like, or now with fucking YouTube, I'll YouTube in the hope that like, okay, hopefully somebody has this like scene on, right?
And Miramax hasn't taken it down.
Right. So there's another film that was so close, and this was easily my number 6. And then we're gonna get into honorable mentions in a second here, but number 6 for sure. I'm gonna take the shot for it. Would have been Beginners for me.
Wow! Holy shit! This is Obi-Wan Kenobi and Michael Caine, right?
Yes. No, not Michael Caine. It's I forgot his name. He won an Oscar for it.
Oh, Jesus.
He's in a bunch of Tim Burton movies. It's
okay. I really like this. This is like his gay father who is dying.
Yeah.
This movie is so good. So but criminally underrated. Well done.
So I'm gonna try to get through this without crying. So let's do the shot first, real quick.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna join you on this.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
The board. Okay, ready.
All right. To Beginners.
To Michael Caine's Last Night in the States.
It's not Michael Caine, but that's fine. All right. So Beginners is a story about Ewan McGregor, and his father has just passed away. And you kind of get these flashbacks, and you see the last year of his father's life. I think it's his last year or so. And his father died of cancer, and in his twilight years, he discovers he's gay. And you see him kind of fall apart from cancer. And like I said, I've been trying to get this without crying. It is clearly the best film about dealing with grief I've ever seen.
Yeah.
So I happened to watch this like a couple months after my mom passed away. And I'll link the article to this because as much as Rico here argued about Tarantino on Port Mouse, I wrote an article about this movie and why it means so much to me. Because it was one of those things where I was dealing with my mom passing away, and there's a lot of feelings that you just don't know how to deal with. And this film kind of dealt with them in such a similar way that I just like connected to it immediately. You add that into the fact that like it's just such a moment film. It's so well written, like the accessibility, the
comedic timing.
Yeah, and I think like when it comes to the grief part, it was the like he was so unsure of what to do. You know, like he tries to make friends with the dog. He's trying to make sense of his dad's life with this gay lover that he has no idea who he was, and not that my mom had a gay lover that I was trying to like figure out, but like that like just that uncertainty is so there, and you talk about Reanimator, and like I've absolutely again put this movie on at 1 a.m. and have just been up all night because I just needed to watch it, and like. I know that like so it's one like the film is like clearly a personal like feeling for me, but like just it's so well made. It's so funny. It's so it when you think of the word melancholy, this film does it perfectly.
I like that.
You know, like
no, it's a good word for it, right? It's not it's not that it's somber.
No. And it's never like it's sad, but it's never sad.
But melancholy is that feeling of sad, but it's gonna be okay. And
exactly. Yes, that's what that film does. And I remember watching this and being like, okay, I'm gonna move on. Everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But
okay, thank you for that. That's
the film nerd in me goes back to as amazing a film as it is, it's definitely not as good as the other 5 on the list.
No, but that's okay. I think there's Thank you for I don't know. That was like really deeply personal and beautiful, and in my opinion, Christopher Plummer makes a wonderful Michael Caine.
That's it. Christopher Plummer is a great Michael Caine. All right. So that was my 5 are Blade Runner, Batman 89, Reanimator, Duck Soup, and 400 Blows. What are your 5?
I've got Sunshine, Children of Men, Shaun of the Dead, Pulp Fiction, and Casablanca.
Nice, dude. I am so happy with both of these lists. And I hope that you guys out there kind of get a sense of what films mean to us from this and make your own list. Like, or if you're not, like, at least think about what it means to you.
It's
like film
it's challenging. So I'll be honest, right? Like you have a degree in being really smart about pop culture, and that's something that's so near and dear to your heart, and you've stuck with it for so long that I love to talk to you about it. I love to, be able to like wean that knowledge off of you, and yet it can be daunting at the same time. So I feel like my list is skewed on one end of the spectrum.
But I think that's where like I would hope that I separate myself from a decent amount of film nerds, because I have plenty of film fans who just dismiss anyone who doesn't have like X, Y, and Z on their list because
on their list,
like, or like, oh, like you like something that was made after 95, like, well, fuck you then.
Exactly. That's the sentiment that I'm worried about because I know that that's true. For that group of people. But man, you just like you make it so accessible and like to me so interesting and exciting to delve into things that I haven't already delved into. And I've tried to like follow your lead and Manny Funkowitz's lead from the Portmouse days and my father's lead, from my whole life. And there's just so much to keep going back into keep delving. And like movies are more than what Netflix is putting out. And you should keep challenging yourself to watching and learning more, because watching a good movie is the same as reading a good book. And like if you take the time to digest and understand what it is you're watching and then to challenge yourself to be able to put it in the context, right? Like that's the important part. to me at least. So I feel like it's been a while since I've had a grounding conversation that does that for me around movies. So I want to say thank you. I did not think that I was going to go on a monologue and thank you at the end of this podcast,
No,
but
that's
here
great.
I am.
But we still have. Let's go to 5 minutes.
Okay.
Talk about your also rants.
Okay.
Well, you go first. Tell me when you're ready.
Well, hold on. So let's I didn't think that I was going to go on a rant at the end of this podcast to tell you how much I appreciated you making me go through this and say say these emotional things about film. But here we are. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about our short lists of things that didn't quite make it, but we wish that they had.
All right. We'll see you in about 5 seconds because I believe that's what Tommy and everybody made for us.
Okay, I just have to pee. Give me a second.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
All right.
If any of you are watching, I promise I'll be back soon.
All right. Ready? What's the timer for this?
I don't know how to check. 5 minutes. I think we do 5, not 10.
Yeah, I think 5 is good.
All right.
Are we doing like the next 5, as many as you can say in 5 minutes, or what?
You got 5 minutes to talk.
5 minutes to talk. Okay.
That's what it is.
All right. I'll go first on this one.
Okay. Let me know when you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Welcome back. So now we're going to kind of talk about our also rans. This is going to be 5 minutes for each person. And we're literally going to time this because I know we talked about this prior. If we just let it go, we're just going to fucking talk forever about all these films. So each person's going to have 5 minutes. While Rico's talking, I'm going to try to be as respectful as I can to not burden him too much. But no promises completely to not chime in at all. But okay, so Rico, I'm going to time you in now.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I thought I was ready for this. I might not be. High up on my list is Chinatown, which is a Roman Polanski movie. Fuck Roman Polanski, but also he has made great movies.
Chinatown also on my list. Boom. Good job.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I think that this is one of the best scripts ever written
If
because
not like
you
the definitive detective movie.
oh my god, and I love detective movies. I love noir. I love the feeling, the ambiance in this movie the entire way through, where it's not really the answers to the question, but it's what the question is, because Jack Nicholson is chasing something that he doesn't really understand for most of that movie. And as new things unfold, and you then go, well, what's the answer there? The whole time, the answer is never what matters. It's what the question actually was that he is chasing. That is such an interesting and hard to pull off premise in itself. That's why the script is so amazing. And I love thriller movies in themselves, and there is, in my opinion, no better thriller than Chinatown. I also think that it's underrated in that aspect. Like I don't just in my anecdotal experience, haven't really encountered a lot of people who have seen Chinatown and appreciate its brilliance. So that one's pretty high up on my list. Um, you talked about Ridley Scott earlier, and I had a hard time not trying to construct my list in what genres you should watch, but like also what filmmakers you should be aware of. So Ridley Scott is one. You know, we talked about Guaron and just all. It's hard for me not to put it in that context, and that's the wrong one to do. So that kind of exonerated some of the other movies that I also really liked. Inside Man um,
Wow.
falls into a Spike. It's a Spike Lee movie, which is kind of crazy, but it's a heist movie and so fun. I love the premise of this heist movie, that it gives equal attention, equal weight, equal time to both ends of the heist, the cops and the people pulling off the heist. I think that like the execution there is so well done. So
Fabulous movie, and I've gone on record on this podcast. I'm not the biggest fan of Spike Lee.
right, but this movie again, pulling that off is so masterful.
This might
Really enjoy that.
well, I mean, Do the Right Thing is right. This is probably third from like Do the Right Thing and Black Klansman battling for number one, and then this.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty fair. Rosemary's Baby was on my short list. Again, like I love good writing, and I think that this is a perfect script. I think it's a harder one to explain why and how it is relevant. Like the tension building that movie has, you don't have to explain because it does it so masterfully. Like that horror element into it. The horror is before the actual moment happens, and that's 90% of Rosemary's Baby. Um, but again, it's a critique of 60s society and like the changing norms that are happening. So you have to. It becomes a little bit more complex for modern viewers, which is why I didn't make it for my list. Um, I've got Pan's Labyrinth on here,
Nice.
which like is a beautiful fantasy movie. And like
So
what I love to like talk about that is like it's such a beautiful fantasy movie. And then you can also say that it's a war movie. And like
right,
that's where the movie gets complex and rewarding and interesting
this is
because
almost
you
more of
can
a war movie than Inglorious Bastards.
yeah, it is more of a war movie than Glorious Bastards. And just it's such a rewarding movie to watch. And ah, I wish I could make everybody watch that. Um, I have 12 Angry Men on my short list. What?
That's it.
There's no way that was 5 minutes.
That was 5 minutes.
Okay, I'm just gonna list the other ones. I'm upset at how time works. So I'm just 12 Angry Men, 12 Years a Slave, Fargo, Event Horizon, Alien. I think that was it on my short list.
Nice.
Ah,
All right. Event Horizon.
Event Horizon and Sunshine were like vying for the horror sci-fi slot.
Sunshine is so much better than Event Horizon.
I love Event Horizon. It's so fun.
I'll give you. I haven't seen it in a while, but from what I remember, Sunshine is extremely better. All right.
I think you should give it another shot because I think it holds up pretty well.
Will you set your timer?
Yeah, I will.
Let me know.
I'm gonna set mine for 2.
Huh?
What?
5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely 2 minutes. Okay, ready, go.
Okay. So mine also ran. The ones I really want to talk about are The Fountain by Darren Aronofsky. This one was more like a modern kind of indie film, and I thought, as much as I love Requiem for a Dream, which is in my top 5 of all time, like The Fountain talks about what I really love about indie films, in that like there's like almost an impenetrability. I love indie films where you have to really discuss and digest and chew on so much, and The Fountain gives you all of that. There's so much going on in The Fountain. It's beautiful, and it's masterfully shot by Manny Libatique with a gorgeous like score, and when you think about it, it's a real simple script. Like, it's not that complicated. It's just there's just a lot going on in the film because it's taking place over these 3 time frames. And The Fountain is one that I wanted to make on my list so bad, but I just didn't know where to put it. And again, I'm happy with the 5 I chose. The other one I really want to talk about is There Will Be Blood by Paul Thomas Anderson.
Nice.
Paul Thomas Anderson, fucking second only to Darren Aronofsky as my favorite working director right now. And There Will Be Blood is his masterpiece. And this guy is making American films in the best way. He is fulfilling on Scorsese and Howard Hawks' promise of great American films. This guy is doing these great works, and There Will Be Blood does, which he calls his horror film, which is amazing. Like, you have Daniel Plainview as the most tyrannical figure you've ever seen in film, and Daniel Day-Lewis just eating up the fucking screen.
Mm-hmm.
And no, like you matched that with this brilliant cinematography and an amazing soundtrack by Johnny Greenwood. There Will Be Blood is a film for the ages, and I think that as much as I love Aronofsky is my boy. I feel like There Will Be Blood will probably go down in the annals of film history more than Aronofsky's films.
I have to say, I agree with everything that you said. I happen to like The Master more.
That was the other. I was struggling which one to put, and I chose There Will Be Blood. The Master's really good.
Philip Seymour Hoffman is so dynamite every time you let him have the time and space to own the camera, and he is masterful in that. And pun was not intended, but nice. I love to watch that.
Some of the other ones I really wanted to work in Battle Royale by Kenji Fukasaku. That hyper violence, that kind of interesting, really style film.
Yeah.
I thought that was done with Reanimator and Blade Runner, though.
That was a genre that was hard to pull in, and we've talked a lot about The Raid and The Raid 2, yeah. And it will be, what's the Night movie? I always fuck up the title of that one.
The Night Will Become Us or something like that.
Night Will Become Us, yeah.
I love those films. So Battle Royale is kind of my epitome there, but not enough to kind of overcome some of the other stuff. The other ones were His Girl Friday, which Duck Soup took over. I love Howard Hawks. You guys should all check out His Girl Friday. So Battle Beyond the Stars is a very, very campy riff on Star Wars with James Cameron as the production designer, and
I can't describe how campy this movie is.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, because you were telling me that like you and Riley watched it and how much you guys loved it, and I was like,
Oh,
all right,
I
I'll go.
love this film so much. And like this gets into like, dude, like this is filmmaking on like this is like a child's level of like there's so much enjoyment in this film. It's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so fun. And Jim, dude, there's boobs on a spaceship. Like this is a fucking like did you not like this?
It, not as I didn't have the nostalgia that went into it, so I think less. But I understand why you like it so much.
Jurassic Park, which is ultimately my favorite blockbuster of all time.
Mm.
Love dinosaurs. My neighbor Totoro. It was hard not to put animation on here, and when I ever think of animation, I kind of come back to Totoro for some reason. It's just so weird and so cool and so beautiful.
Yeah.
And I remember, and this is another one. I watched this. Me and Riley used to watch this all the time. We also used to watch Toy Story all the time, but at one point we were just watching Totoro all the time, and it was just so cool. Like it's such a weird,
gorgeous
story.
film.
Yeah, like I love this one. Taxi Driver. I don't have any Scorsese on this list, and Taxi Driver is easily my favorite Scorsese film. Okay, so the other ones were I Saw the Devil and The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. These are both by fuck. I'm fine with that. I got a lot out that I wanted to.
Yeah, you got Scorsese in at the end. That was good.
I got Scorsese in the end, and then I even got to mention I Saw the Devil. All right,
Taxi Driver was my Scorsese pick as well. Further down.
Oh yeah, like I don't.
Without a doubt, there's not a.
No, like I
that's
love
the only right answer.
I feel like you're either Taxi Driver or Raging Bull for Scorsese. Like if
you're wrong if you're Raging Bull though.
But like if you say Goodfellas, you're definitely wrong.
Yeah, I agree.
Dude, that was dope. That was exactly what I wanted. I remember when I read this tweet, I was like, this is a dope concept to talk about. Like we could talk about this forever.
And we've now talked about it for over 2 hours, so you know. Maybe we have.
How come I can't see that?
Oh, I'm just looking at the thing called the clock.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. No, for sure. So
did you forget that existed?
Yeah. All right. So next time we should try really hard to talk about some cardboard.
We're doing a bad job.
We're doing a bad job of talking about board games on this board game podcast.
I don't care. It's okay. I am learning. I am enjoying talking about movies that I care about. It's so fun, and hold on. Let me think about that for a second. We are such multifaceted people that are interested in so many interesting things. It's cool to be able to be all over the place. So drop the dice, drop the topic, drop whatever. Sure. We're there.
I think the biggest thing is I would love to get one of the other guys on here, whether we're talking about cardboard or movies or books, comics, whatever. Not books because none of these guys read books.
Yeah.
But that was fucking great. We've been playing some dope stuff. Real quick, we played Dice Forge the expansion, which the same one you did. Loved it.
Excellent.
Super fun. Dice Forge is still a fucking great game. We played Gearworks last week, which I really liked. It's this weird take on error control. And then we played The Expanse with the expansion. The Expanse, dude, Expanse is a great game with horrible components.
Pretty much the worst.
Yeah. But then we played Farlight with 4 people. Farlight, amazing game.
I love Farlight. It's so easy to teach, and
Farlight is so much fun. And did you see we're finally getting our 5 pieces of literally printed off cards in the mail next, hopefully.
Farlight does what I love about Keyflower in about a fifth of the rules explanation and about a fifth of the time to play.
Wow, that is an insane description. I had a blast playing Farlight this last week.
That's what I'm saying. Like it distills the things that I really like about Keyflower and says like just go do some cool auction and compete against your friends and don't take the game too seriously because it's going to be over in 30 minutes.
Yeah,
and that's Farlight.
No, Farlight was dope. But yeah, literally, it looks like they printed off our cards on sheets at their home, and we should be getting them soon after a year.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I think this week I'm hoping to be playing mostly social games. So Abandoned Planet, Black Hole Council, and then maybe New Angeles.
What do you have going on? That's just okay. Got it. That's the theme for the next game night.
I think so. Again, just trying to show Lewis the different facets of games, and then like Chazzy's kind of there, so develop him a little bit more.
Very cool.
We haven't really done a whole lot of social games yet, so and there's been 4 people pretty consistently. So if I can actually pull 4-player games off, I'd rather do that.
Nice, man. I like it
for sure, dude. This was great. Again, next time we got to figure out how to talk about cardboard at least a little bit.
All right.
And
everything else in between, I'm on board. So
right. So this has been Job That I. Please go listen to our Lost podcast, which me and Rico will, as of now, be the only people on because no one else really wants to come on it with us.
Excuse me, what's the name of this podcast?
We don't know yet. It used to be
no. Go ahead.
It used to be we have to go back, but apparently there's 5.
Jack.
Okay.
No.
God damn it! If this podcast ends up being called everybody.
You all, everybody.
You all, everybody. All right. Either way, please go listen to our last podcast. I think it's pretty fun. We got about 3 in the can, so I'm going to start editing those as well. I think we're good on that for a little bit. But yeah, okay, this was great. Bus, go ahead and lead us out with the right outro music.
Let the right one out.
Nice. So, okay. So for Bus, I want him to say, well, once we figure out what we're going to call it.
Yeah.
I figured I'd just ask Mark to be like, thank you for listening to We Have to Go Back, or whatever the fuck it ends up being called.
Are you sure you don't want Bus to say, thank you for listening to You All, Everybody?
I wonder if we should call that just to be ridiculous.
Dude.
This is a bad name for a podcast.
I will be so happy if me ironically and trying to be funny and unsuccessfully being funny about a podcast name, if we actually make the podcast name that, like, holy shit. Will I have material to talk about? I will never shut the fuck up. We named it.
See, but if you all, everybody. How do you type out "you all, everybody"? Because there's a difference between "you all, everybody" and "you all, everybody."
You all, everybody. Welcome back to You All, Everybody, a podcast about
Lost.
Everybody and J.J. Abrams.
We could do. What about Dead is Dead?
Man.
No? You don't remember that episode, do you?
No.
God damn it. I don't think you watched the show.
Mm.
All right. But yeah, so we'll have to figure out another one of those. Thank you for listening to You, everybody.
Yeah, that would probably be hard to listen to week in after week. You already have to listen to me try and sing it, so.
Right. We'll come up with something. But it'll be good fodder for us to talk about on the next one.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. I'll probably edit this before I edit the next Lost podcast, so this can go up on the proper feed.
Okay, that makes sense.
That
was dope, man.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good one. I like that.
I got more emotional with like just being in awe of your movie picks than I thought I was going to.
No,
but I really did, man. Like I'm being serious. I have talked about movies with you a decent amount of times, and I feel like I haven't been. I don't want to say nervous because I wasn't nervous, but